What would you do if your husband showed up to a family wedding with another woman? Smile and pretend everything was fine. Cry in the bathroom. Well, I did neither. I walked straight to the man my husband despised, the one he called pathetic, and asked him to dance. And that single decision changed everything. Before we dive into this story of betrayal, resilience, and unexpected redemption, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and turn on notifications. Trust me, you won't want to miss how this unfolds. The invitation that changed everything. The envelope sat on our kitchen counter for 3 days before Derek finally acknowledged it. Cream-colored, embossed with delicate gold lettering, Sophia's wedding invitation. I had already RSVP'd for both of us weeks ago, but the formal print copy had arrived, and something in me wanted him to see it, to remember that we were supposed to be a unit, a pair. He barely glanced at it as he poured his coffee. "You're still going to this thing, right?" I asked, keeping my voice light, like it didn't matter, like my stomach wasn't already twisting. Derek took a slow sip, his eyes fixed on his phone. "Yeah, probably. Probably." That word had become his favorite lately. Probably coming home for dinner. Probably making it to my work event. Probably still invested in this marriage. I swallowed hard and picked up the invitation, running my thumb over the elegant script. Mr. and Mrs. Carter. It looked so official. So permanent. "It's next Saturday," I said. "Sophia's counting on us being there." He exhaled through his nose, the way he always did when he thought I was being dramatic. I said I'd go, Lila. I wanted to believe him, but the last 6 months had taught me that Derek's promises were like sand, impossible to hold on to. The wedding was all anyone in my family could talk about. Sophia, my cousin and closest friend since childhood, was marrying the love of her life in Malibu, overlooking the ocean. It was the kind of wedding people pinned on Pinterest, soft white drapes, twinkling lights, the sound of waves crashing in the distance. The kind of wedding I had imagined for myself before Derek convinced me a courthouse ceremony was more our speed. "We don't need all that fuss," he'd said. "It's just about us." At the time, I thought it was romantic. Now, I wondered if it was just convenient. 2 days before the wedding, Derek came home late. Again. I was packing my suitcase when he walked in, his tie loosened, the faint scent of someone else's perfume lingering on his jacket. I didn't ask. I'd learned that asking only led to fights, and I didn't have the energy for another one. "You're still coming Saturday, right?" I said instead, folding a dress with exaggerated care. He hesitated, a beat too long. Then he dropped the bomb. "Vanessa's coming with me." My hand stilled. The air in the room thickened. Vanessa, his colleague, the one whose name popped up on his phone at midnight, the one whose laugh I'd heard in the background of too many of his calls. "Excuse me." My voice was dangerously calm. Derek shrugged, like this was nothing. Like he wasn't tearing open a wound we'd been pretending didn't exist. "She's my +1. I stared at him, waiting for the punchline. But his expression didn't change. "You're bringing another woman to my cousin's wedding?" I whispered. "It's not a big deal." Not a big deal. Not a big deal to parade his emotional affair in front of my entire family. Not a big deal to humiliate me in front of everyone who mattered to me. I closed my eyes for a second, willing myself not to cry. Not yet. When I opened them, Derek was watching me with something between impatience and amusement. Like he was waiting to see how far he could push me before I finally broke. Something inside me snapped. "Fine," I said, my voice steady in a way that surprised even me. "Bring her." His eyebrows lifted. He hadn't expected that. I zipped up my suitcase with a sharp tug. "But don't expect me to play the happy wife while you flaunt whatever this is." For the first time in months, Derek looked unsure. Good, because I was done pretending. And if he wanted a spectacle at this wedding, I'd give him one. The best man's secret. The morning of the wedding arrived with a quiet tension that clung to me like a second skin. I dressed carefully, a deep emerald green dress that made my auburn hair glow, heels high enough to give me confidence, but not so high I'd stumble. Armor, not just fabric. Derek had left early, muttering something about helping set up. I knew the truth. He wanted to arrive with Vanessa without me there to witness it. Fine. Let him. I had my own battle to prepare for. Sophia's wedding was held at a cliffside estate in Malibu, the kind of place that made you believe in magic. Ocean waves crashed against the rocks below, and the salty breeze carried the scent of blooming jasmine. It should have been perfect. But then I saw them. Derek stood near the ceremony arch, his arm draped casually around Vanessa's waist. She was laughing at something he said, her fingers brushing his sleeve in a way that was too familiar. My stomach twisted, but I refused to look away. Let him see me watching. Let him remember I existed. "Lila!" Sophia's voice broke through my thoughts, and I turned just as she pulled me into a hug. Her wedding dress was a vision of lace and silk, her smile radiant. But then she leaned in, her voice dropping to a whisper. "I'm so sorry. I had no idea he'd bring her." I squeezed her hand. "Today is about you. Don't worry about me." She hesitated, then nodded, but the worry in her eyes stayed. The ceremony was beautiful. Sophia glowed as she walked down the aisle, her groom's eyes brimming with tears. I should have been swept up in the moment, but all I could focus on was Derek, 2 rows ahead of me, whispering something to Vanessa that made her smirk. Then, as the officiant spoke, I noticed him. Ryan Mitchell, the best man. I recognized him instantly, though we'd never officially met. Derek had talked about him for years, always with a sneer. Ryan, the guy's a joke. Had a shot at a music career and blew it. Now he's just some sad, washed-up guitarist playing bars. But the man standing at the groom's side didn't look pathetic. He stood tall, his dark suit tailored perfectly to his frame, his expression solemn as he watched the ceremony. And when he glanced my way, just for a second, there was something in his gaze, a knowing, almost sympathetic look, that made my breath catch. The reception was held under a canopy of twinkling lights, the ocean breeze mingling with the scent of champagne and roasted herbs. I sat at my assigned table, forcing polite smiles as Derek and Vanessa lingered near the bar, their laughter too loud, their touches too frequent. Then a chair scraped beside me. Ryan sat down, setting a glass of wine in front of me. "Figured you could use this," he said, his voice low and warm. I blinked. "Thanks." He didn't say anything else, just sipped his own drink, his gaze scanning the room before landing on Derek. His jaw tightened slightly. "You know him," I said. It wasn't a question. Ryan's lips quirked in a humorless smile. "We went to college together. Played in the same band, actually." A band? Derek had never mentioned that. "Let me guess," Ryan continued, his eyes flicking back to me. "He told you I was some failed musician." The accuracy of his words sent a chill down my spine. Ryan leaned in slightly, his voice dropping. "Here's the thing. Derek doesn't like people who know the real version of his stories." I held his gaze, my pulse quickening. "What's the real version?" For a moment, he hesitated. Then he shook his head. "Not here. Not like this." He glanced toward Derek again, then back at me. "But if you ever want the truth, ask me." Before I could respond, the DJ announced the first dance. Sophia and her new husband took the floor, and the room erupted in applause. But all I could think about was Ryan's words. The real version of his stories. What did that mean? And why did Derek hate him so much? As the night wore on, Derek grew bolder. His hand on Vanessa's lower back, his lips brushing her ear. The whispers around us grew louder, the pitying glances more frequent. I couldn't do this. Not anymore. Then the DJ's voice boomed through the speakers. "All right, folks. Time for a slow dance, couples only." Derek smirked, pulling Vanessa toward the dance floor. That's when I made my decision. I stood, smoothed my dress, and walked straight to Ryan. His eyebrows lifted as I stopped in front of him. "Dance with me," I said. For a heartbeat, he just stared at me. Then, without a word, he offered me his hand. As we stepped onto the dance floor, Derek's head snapped toward us, his expression shifting from smug to stunned. Ryan's hand settled on my waist, warm and steady. "You sure about this?" he murmured. I didn't look away from Derek as I answered. "I've never been more sure." And as the music swelled around us, for the first time in years, I didn't feel like the victim of Derek's games. I felt powerful. And from the way Derek was glaring at us, he knew it too. The dance that broke the internet. The moment Ryan's hand touched the small of my back, the entire room seemed to hold its breath. The soft melody of Ed Sheeran's Perfect floated through the air, but all I could hear was the pounding of my own heart. Derek's stare burned into me from across the dance floor, his grip on Vanessa's waist tightening until his knuckles turned white. Ryan leaned in slightly, his voice a quiet murmur against my ear. "You okay?" I swallowed hard, forcing my shoulders to relax. Better than I've been in months. And it was true. The weight of Derek's betrayal, the months of swallowed pride and forced smiles, none of it mattered in this moment. Because right now, he was the one watching me. Ryan guided me into the rhythm effortlessly, his steps sure and steady. I hadn't expected him to be such a good dancer, but then again, Derek had painted him as a failure in every way. Clearly, there was a lot I didn't know. "You're full of surprises," I said, glancing up at him. His lips curved into a faint smile. "So are you." The warmth of his palm against mine sent an unexpected shiver down my spine. I told myself it was just the adrenaline, the thrill of defiance, not the way his dark blue eyes held mine like I was the only person in the room. Then Derek cut in. Literally. 1 second, Ryan and I were swaying to the music, and the next, Derek's hand clamped down on Ryan's shoulder, jerking him back. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Derek snarled, his voice low but razor-sharp. The music didn't stop, but the dancers around us faltered, their curious glances turning into outright stares. Ryan didn't flinch. "Dancing. You should try it sometime." His tone was calm, but there was an edge beneath it. Something dangerous. Derek's jaw clenched. "Stay away from my wife." The word wife sounded like a mockery coming from him. I stepped forward before Ryan could respond. "Funny you didn't seem to remember I was your wife when you brought her." I jerked my chin toward Vanessa, who hovered awkwardly a few feet away, her cheeks flushed. Derek's nostrils flared. "This isn't the place, Lila." "You made it the place." I shot back. The tension between us crackled like live wires. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw phones lifting, guests discreetly filming the confrontation. Great. This would be all over social media by midnight. Then, Ryan did something unexpected. He laughed. Not a cruel laugh, but the kind of chuckle you'd give to a child throwing a tantrum. "Always the same, Derek," he said, shaking his head. "You never could handle it when things didn't go your way." Derek's face darkened. "You don't know anything about me anymore." "Oh, I know enough." Ryan's gaze flicked to Vanessa, then back to Derek. "But like Lila said, this isn't the time." With that, he offered me his arm. "Shall we?" I hesitated for only a second before slipping my hand into the crook of his elbow. Derek's expression twisted into something ugly, but I didn't look back as Ryan led me away, the whispers of the crowd rising behind us like a tide. We ended up on the terrace, the cool night air a relief against my flushed skin. The ocean stretched out before us, the moon casting a silver path across the waves. "I'm sorry," Ryan said after a moment. "I didn't mean to make things worse for you in there." I shook my head. "You didn't." He did. I wrapped my arms around myself, suddenly exhausted. I can't believe it came to this." Ryan leaned against the railing, his profile sharp in the dim light. "How long has it been going on?" "With Vanessa." I let out a hollow laugh. Long enough that I should have seen it coming. He was quiet for a beat. Then, Derek cheated on his college girlfriend too. My head snapped toward him. "What?" Ryan met my gaze, his expression unreadable. "His senior year. With his best friend's girlfriend." It blew up the whole band. A cold realization settled in my stomach. "That was you." He nodded slowly. "I was the best friend." The pieces clicked together, Derek's hatred of Ryan, the way he'd gone out of his way to paint him as a loser. It wasn't just about Ryan's failed music career. It was about guilt. I exhaled sharply. So history just repeated itself. Ryan's fingers tightened around the railing. "Derek doesn't change. He just finds new people to hurt." The truth of those words settled over me like a weight. And in that moment, I made a decision. I was done being one of those people. When we returned to the reception, Derek was gone. So was Vanessa. Sophia rushed over, her eyes wide. "Oh my God, are you okay?" Derek just stormed out. "I'm fine," I said, and for the first time in a long time, I meant it. Because something had shifted tonight, and as Ryan stood beside me, his presence steady and sure, I realized something else. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning. The aftermath goes viral. The morning after the wedding, I woke up to my phone exploding. Texts, missed calls, Instagram tags. My sister's name flashed on the screen with 3 frantic voicemails. Before I could process any of it, Sophia's name popped up with a single message. Lila, you need to check TikTok. My stomach dropped. I knew what I'd find before I even opened the app. There it was, a shaky video of last night's confrontation, already racking up 500,000 views. The caption screamed, "Dude brings side chick to his wife's family wedding, then she dances with his enemy." Iconic. The comments were worse. "Queen behavior. That's the best man? I'd leave my husband for him too. Someone find this woman and give her a medal." My hands trembled as I scrolled. This wasn't just embarrassing, this was nuclear. Derek would lose his mind. As if on cue, my front door slammed open. "What the hell were you thinking?" Derek's voice ricocheted off the walls as he stormed into the bedroom, his phone clutched in one white-knuckled hand. I sat up slowly, forcing my voice steady. "I could ask you the same thing." He threw his phone onto the bed. The screen showed a freeze frame of Ryan and me dancing, my emerald dress swirling as his hand pressed against my back. "You humiliated me in front of everyone." "No," I stood, meeting his glare head-on. "You humiliated yourself when you brought Vanessa." I just stopped pretending it was okay. Derek's jaw worked like he was chewing glass. "You always did love playing the victim." The familiar jab didn't land this time. "And you always loved making sure I felt like one." I grabbed my robe, brushing past him toward the bathroom. "We're done." He caught my wrist. "You don't get to walk away." For the first time in our marriage, I wasn't afraid of his anger. I yanked free. "Watch me." 3 hours later, I sat in my lawyer's office with a black coffee and a hollow ache in my chest. "The video complicates things," said Naomi, my divorce attorney, scrolling through her iPad. "But it also proves infidelity, or at least the appearance of it. That'll help with the settlement." I stared at the framed degrees on her wall, trying to focus. "I just want out." Naomi set down her stylus. "He's going to fight you. Men like Derek don't let go easily." I knew that better than anyone. My phone buzzed with an unknown number. Normally I'd ignore it, but something made me swipe open the message. "Hey, it's Ryan. You left this at the venue." Attached was a photo of my grandmother's pearl earring, the ones I'd worn for luck. Naomi raised an eyebrow. "Problem?" I hesitated, then showed her the screen. She smirked. "Well, at least someone in this story has manners." I met Ryan at a coffee shop near the pier, the same one Derek always refused to go to because he hated hipster espresso. The irony wasn't lost on me. Ryan was already waiting at a corner table, 2 cups in front of him. He stood when he saw me, those blue eyes scanning my face like he was checking for damage. "You okay?" The simple question nearly undid me. How long had it been since someone asked me that and actually meant it? "Been better." I slid into the chair across from him, nodding at the earring he'd placed neatly on a napkin. "Thanks for this." He pushed one of the cups toward me. "Americano." "Black." Sophia told me. A surprised laugh escaped me. Stalking my coffee preferences now. Just being thorough. His smile faded. "Derek's pissed, huh?" Understatement. I wrapped my hands around the warm cup. He's probably drafting a lawsuit against whoever filmed us as we speak. Ryan snorted. "Good luck with that." He hesitated, then leaned in. "Look, about what I said last night, about Derek's past. I shouldn't have dumped that on you." I needed to hear it. I met his gaze. "Why didn't you tell me sooner? Would you have believed me?" The quiet truth of that hung between us. My phone buzzed again. "Derek. We need to talk." "Call me." Ryan's eyes dropped to the screen. When he looked back up, there was something fierce in his expression. "Don't go back to him, Lila." I turned off my phone. I wasn't planning to. The relief in his smile sent a warm rush through my chest. Maybe this wasn't just about Derek anymore. Maybe it was about who I became when I stopped being afraid. The truth about the band. Ryan's loft was nothing like I expected. Tucked above an old record store in Silver Lake, the space was all exposed brick and warm wood, guitars mounted on the walls alongside framed vinyl covers. A sleek piano sat near the floor-to-ceiling windows, sheet music scattered across the bench. "You still play?" I trailed my fingers over the piano keys without pressing down. "Every day." Ryan moved past me to the kitchen, pulling 2 beers from the fridge. "It's how I pay the bills, actually." I accepted the bottle, frowning. Derek said you quit music. Derek says a lot of things. He took a long swig, his throat working as he swallowed. We had a record deal lined up senior year. Me on vocals, him on bass. Then he slept with our drummer's girlfriend 2 weeks before we signed. The pieces clicked together. The band fell apart. Like a house of cards. Ryan leaned against the counter, his free hand tapping an absent rhythm against his thigh. The label dropped us. The drummer quit. And Derek! A humorless laugh. He convinced everyone it was my fault for not being committed enough. I stared at him, something hot and sharp rising in my chest. He stole your career. Nah, Ryan shook his head. He just showed his true colors early. Saved me the trouble of finding out later. The casual way he said it made my eyes burn. How many times had Derek rewritten history to suit himself? How many people had he hurt without consequence? I set down my beer with a clink. Show me. Ryan blinked. What? Your music. Play something. For a second, he looked like he might refuse. Then he grabbed an acoustic guitar from its stand and settled onto the couch beside me. The first chord sent a shiver down my spine. His voice was rough velvet, weaving through lyrics about betrayal and second chances. The song built slowly, aching and beautiful, until the final note hung in the air like a held breath. I realized I was crying. Ryan froze. Shit, I didn't mean. It's not the song. I swiped at my cheeks, laughing through the tears. It's just, I spent 5 years married to a man who made me feel small. And you. I gestured to the guitar, the sunlit loft, the life he built despite everything. You survived him. Ryan's gaze softened. He reached out like he might touch my hand, then seemed to think better of it. So will you. My phone buzzed in my purse. Derek again. I didn't have to look to know it was another demand, another threat. This time I didn't flinch. Ryan watched me, his fingers still resting on the guitar strings. You want to play something? I don't know how. I'll teach you. He shifted closer, guiding my hands to the fretboard. First lesson, it's okay to make noise. As his calloused fingers brushed mine, something inside me cracked open. Maybe it wasn't too late to learn. For either of us. The leaked texts. The video from the wedding had barely started to fade from social media when the next bomb dropped. I was at Naomi's office reviewing divorce papers when my sister's frantic call came through. Lila, turn on Channel 7. Right now. Naomi muted the TV in her office, just as the entertainment reporter's overly dramatic voice filled the room. And in today's celebrity gossip shocker, leaked text messages allegedly between tech executive Derek Carter and his mistress have gone viral. A screenshot flashed on screen, a text thread between Derek and Vanessa with a timestamp from 3 months ago. Derek, can't stop thinking about last night. Vanessa, then leave her. Derek, soon. Just need to handle the prenup first. My coffee cup slipped from my fingers, shattering on the hardwood floor. Naomi immediately grabbed the remote and turned it off. Breathe, Lila. But I couldn't. The room tilted dangerously. Those texts were from before our anniversary trip, before he looked me in the eyes and promised we'd start trying for a baby. Naomi's assistant rushed in with paper towels, but I barely noticed. My hands had started shaking uncontrollably. Who would leak these? My voice sounded hollow, distant. Naomi's lips pressed into a thin line. My guess, someone who wanted to make sure Derek couldn't spin this as an innocent work friendship. Ryan. The realization hit me like a punch. He'd mentioned still being in touch with people from their old label. People who might have access to Derek's dirty laundry. My phone buzzed with a notification. Derek's furious text. Tell your new boyfriend to lawyer up. I'm suing for defamation. Before I could respond, another message popped up, this time from Ryan. Don't turn on the news. Come straight to my place. Too late. Ryan's loft smelled like burnt coffee and nervous energy when I arrived. He paced near the windows, running a hand through his already disheveled hair. I didn't do it. He stopped when he saw me, his expression raw. I swear to God, Lila, I wouldn't. Then who did? He exhaled sharply. My money's on Vanessa. That stopped me cold. What? Think about it. Ryan grabbed his laptop, pulling up Vanessa's Instagram, a now-deleted post showing her at some high-end restaurant last night. Derek dumped her after the wedding. This is her revenge. I studied the photo, Vanessa's pouty lips, the half-empty wine glass, the caption, "When he chooses the wife, but you hold the receipts." My stomach twisted. She wanted this to blow up. Ryan snapped the laptop shut. And now Derek's coming for both of us. As if on cue, my phone rang, an unknown number. I answered on speaker. "Mrs. Carter?" A woman's professional voice. "This is Meredith from TMZ. We'd love your comment on." Ryan ended the call with a violent stab of his finger. The silence that followed was deafening. Outside, the sun dipped behind the buildings, casting long shadows across the floor. Ryan finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry." And that's when it hit me. None of this was about revenge or scandal. It was about freedom. I reached for his hand. "Don't be." Because for the first time, the world could see Derek for who he really was. And no lawsuit could change that. The family divide, the fallout from the leaked texts hit like a hurricane. By the next morning, my phone had become a war zone of divided loyalties. My mother's voicemail was first. "Lila Marie, how could you air dirty laundry like this? Your father and I are mortified." Then my younger sister Zoe's text. "Derek's team is threatening to sue the news stations. Also, you're my hero." But it was Sophia's call that cut the deepest. "Mom and Aunt Carol are saying you staged this to humiliate Derek," she whispered, like she was hiding in a closet. "They're taking his side." I sat on the floor of Ryan's shower, scalding water pounding my back as tears mixed with steam. This wasn't just about Derek anymore. He'd infected my entire family. A soft knock startled me. "Lila." Ryan's voice filtered through the door. "You've been in there an hour." "I'm coming in." The door opened before I could protest. Ryan stepped into the steam, fully clothed, not hesitating as he reached through the water to turn off the tap. His gray t-shirt turned transparent instantly, clinging to the hard lines of his shoulders. "I'm fine," I lied, wiping my face. "Yeah, drowning yourself is totally fine behavior." He grabbed a towel, wrapping it around me before lifting me out in one smooth motion. The domesticity of it shocked me more than the intimacy, how easily he carried my weight, how naturally his hands found safe places to grip. Derek had never seen me break. Would have recoiled at the mess of it. Ryan set me on the counter, kneeling to eye level as he towel-dried my hair. "Tell me." So I did. About my mother's obsession with appearances, about how Derek's six-figure donations to my uncle's church had bought him unlimited forgiveness. About the voicemail from my father saying, "All marriages have rough patches," like infidelity was a minor speed bump. Ryan listened without interrupting, his jaw tightening when I got to the part about my cousin calling me a disgrace to the family name. When I finished, he pressed his forehead to mine. "They don't get to define you." The conviction in his voice made me believe it. We emerged from the bathroom to find Ryan's phone blowing up. TMZ had run a follow-up story. Inside the love triangle, who really leaked the texts, featuring a grainy photo of Ryan and me leaving the coffee shop 2 days ago. Ryan cursed, throwing his phone onto the couch. "We need to get ahead of this." Before we could strategize, my phone rang with a number I recognized, Derek's lawyer. Ryan's hand tightened on mine. "Don't answer." But I was done hiding. I put it on speaker. "Lila Carter." "Mrs. Carter, this is Robert Kincaid. My client is prepared to offer extremely generous terms if you publicly state those texts were fabricated." Ryan made a strangled noise. I squeezed his hand hard. "And if I don't?" A pause. "Then we'll have no choice but to file defamation charges against Mr. Mitchell for his alleged role in the leak." The threat hung in the air like smoke. Ryan snatched the phone. "Tell Derek to bring it. I've got emails from 2012 where he bribed a professor to change his grades." "How's that for defamation?" He hung up before the lawyer could respond. We stared at each other, breathing hard. Then, simultaneously, we burst into laughter, the kind of slightly hysterical, post-adrenaline giggles that made my ribs ache. Ryan wiped his eyes. "I may have exaggerated about the emails." "God, you're terrible." I shoved his shoulder, but I was grinning. His smile faded as he cupped my face. "You know what this means, right? It's war now." I leaned into his touch. "Good." Because for the first time, I wasn't fighting alone. And that changed everything. The reckoning. Derek didn't wait to make his next move. 3 days after his lawyer's threat, I arrived at my temporary apartment, a tiny studio I'd rented under Naomi's advice, to find an envelope taped to my door. No stamp, no return address. Just my name scrawled in Derek's sharp, angry handwriting. Inside was a single sheet of paper. A printed screenshot of a bank transfer dated 6 months ago from Ryan's account to a private investigator. The memo line read, Surveillance, DC. My hands trembled as I stared at it. DC, Derek Carter. Ryan had hired someone to follow my husband. Before I could process what that meant, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. A photo loaded slowly, Ryan sitting across from Vanessa at a cafe, leaning in like they were sharing secrets. The timestamp showed it was taken 2 weeks before the wedding. Then came Derek's message. Ask your knight in shining armor how long he's been planning this. The walls of the apartment seemed to close in around me. I sank onto the floor, the paper crumpling in my grip. Had Ryan used me as part of some twisted revenge plot? Had any of it been real? I needed answers. Now. Ryan answered his door on the first knock, his smile fading when he saw my face. What's wrong? I shoved the bank transfer printout at his chest. Explain this. His expression went carefully blank as he scanned the page. When he looked up, his eyes were darker than I'd ever seen them. Come inside. Not until you tell me the truth. My voice cracked. Did you hire someone to follow Derek? Yes. The admission hit like a slap. Why? Ryan ran a hand through his hair, his jaw working. After the wedding video went viral, Vanessa reached out to me. Said she had proof Derek was cheating on you for years. I wanted to verify before tearing your life apart further. The room spun. So you met with her? I showed him the photo on my phone. His breath hissed through his teeth. She offered me the texts. I said no, told her you deserved to hear it from Derek, not some tabloid mess. He stepped closer, his voice dropping. Lila, I was trying to protect you. By spying on my husband? By gathering evidence? Ryan grabbed my hands, his grip firm. Naomi told me you had no proof of infidelity for the divorce. I was getting you leverage. I wrenched free. I didn't ask you to do that. You didn't have to. His words hung between us, heavy with meaning. The fight drained out of me suddenly, leaving only exhaustion. I sank onto his couch, pressing my palms to my eyes. This is exactly what Derek wanted. To make me doubt you. Ryan knelt in front of me, his hands braced on my knees. Then don't let him win. I studied his face, the faint scar above his eyebrow from a long-ago bar fight, the stubble shading his jaw, the unwavering intensity in his gaze. This man had seen me at my worst and never flinched. Derek's games had cost me enough. I wouldn't let them cost me this too. I covered Ryan's hands with mine. Show me everything. What followed was a crash course in Derek's deception. Ryan's laptop held a folder of evidence, photos of Derek and Vanessa at hotels, receipts for gifts he bought her, even a recording of him bad-mouthing my family to his golf buddies. The earliest timestamp was from our first anniversary. The most damning file? A video of Derek bragging to a friend about the prenup. Lila will never see a dime of my IPO money. The bitch signed away her rights thinking it was romantic. I watched it 3 times before the numbness set in. Ryan closed the laptop gently. I was going to give this to Naomi next week. Wanted to prepare you first. I stood abruptly, pacing to the window. The city lights blurred as tears welled. All those fights about kids. He made me think I was the problem. Ryan came up behind me, close but not touching. Giving me space. What do you need? I turned, pressing my forehead to his chest. His arms came around me instantly, solid and sure. Stay, I whispered. His heartbeat thundered under my ear. Try and get rid of me. That night, curled together on his couch, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't just falling for Ryan. I'd already landed. The breaking point. The knock came at 3:17 a.m. I shot upright in Ryan's bed, disoriented, my heart hammering against my ribs. Ryan was already on his feet, pulling on sweatpants with one hand while the other reached for the baseball bat leaning against his nightstand. Stay here, he murmured, padding barefoot toward the door. I grabbed my phone, my fingers hovering over 911 as I strained to hear. The loft was dark except for the faint glow of streetlights filtering through the blinds. Then Derek's voice cut through the silence. I know she's here. Every muscle in my body locked. Ryan's response was too low to make out, but Derek's next words rang clear. You think you've won? You're dead, Mitchell. Professionally, socially, I'll bury you so deep you'll wish you'd never met her. I threw off the covers and marched down the hallway before I could think better of it. Derek stood in the doorway, his designer shirt wrinkled, his eyes bloodshot. He reeked of bourbon and expensive cologne. When he saw me, his lip curled. Finally, he held up his phone, the screen displaying a tabloid article with the headline, "Cheating Tech ex-wife moves on with musician, sees steamy coffee date pics." Below it were blurry photos of Ryan and me kissing outside the cafe 2 days ago. My stomach turned. "You're drunk. I'm ruined." Derek's shout echoed through the loft. "The board forced me to step down today. My investors are pulling out, all because of your little revenge plot." Ryan stepped between us, his voice dangerously calm. "You did this to yourself." Derek's laugh was jagged. "And you." He jabbed a finger at Ryan's chest. "You've been waiting a decade for this. Admit it, you used her to get back at me." The accusation hung in the air like poison. Ryan didn't flinch. "Get out." Derek's gaze slid to me, his expression shifting into something almost pleading. "Lila, you know me. You know I wouldn't. I know exactly who you are." My voice didn't shake. "And I'm done." For a heartbeat, he looked genuinely gutted. Then his face hardened. "You'll regret this." Ryan shut the door in his face. The second the lock clicked, my legs gave out. Ryan caught me, lowering us both to the floor as the adrenaline crash hit. "Hey, look at me." He cradled my face, his thumbs brushing away tears I hadn't realized I'd shed. "He's bluffing. He's got nothing left." I wanted to believe him, but Derek had spent years conditioning me to fear his temper, his connections, his ability to make problems disappear, including mine. What if he? Ryan silenced me with a kiss, slow and deep, his hands fisted in my hair like an anchor. When he pulled back, his eyes burned with certainty. "He can't touch you anymore." Morning brought a temporary restraining order courtesy of Naomi and a flood of missed calls from Derek's lawyer. Ryan made coffee while I scrolled through the latest headlines. Tech CEO steps down amid cheating scandal. Inside the divorce that's rocking Silicon Valley. Mistress Vanessa speaks out. I was manipulated too. I choked on my coffee at that last one. Ryan peered over my shoulder, snorting. Classic damage control. He dropped into the chair beside me, his knee brushing mine. "You ready for today?" I wasn't. Today meant facing the press camped outside Naomi's office for our official divorce filing. More photos, more speculation, more of my private life dissected for public consumption. But it also meant freedom. I laced my fingers through Ryan's. "Let's get it over with." The paparazzi swarm was worse than I'd imagined. At least 24 photographers shouted my name as we pushed through the courthouse doors, their flashes exploding in my face. Ryan kept his arm around my waist, his body shielding mine as Naomi barked at the crowd to back off. Then, through the chaos, I spotted her. My mother. She stood off to the side in her Chanel suit and oversized sunglasses, her lips pressed into a thin line. When our eyes met, she didn't smile. Naomi nudged me forward. "Ignore her. Focus on the game plan." But as we passed, my mother reached out, her manicured fingers closing around my wrist. "He's not worth throwing away your entire life, Lila." Her whisper was icy. "Come home." I stared at her, really stared, for the first time in years. Saw the fear beneath the disapproval. The way her grip trembled, slightly. She wasn't angry. She was terrified. Terrified I'd chosen uncertainty over the safety of Derek's money and status. Terrified I'd broken the unspoken family rule, appearances over happiness. I gently pried her hand away. "I am home." Then I walked into the courthouse without looking back, Ryan's hand warm in mine. The door hadn't even closed behind us when I heard the first camera click. Tomorrow's headline was already writing itself. The last stand. The courthouse steps were still swarming with reporters when Derek made his move. Just as Naomi predicted, he arrived late. Tailored suit, polished shoes, every inch the wronged executive. The camera swung toward him like iron to a magnet. I felt Ryan tense beside me as Derek paused at the base of the steps, his lawyer whispering urgently in his ear. Then Derek looked up, directly at me. His smile was a razor blade. "Showtime," Naomi muttered, steering me toward our waiting car. But it was too late. Derek took the steps 2 at a time, his voice carrying over the crowd. Lila, don't you think we should talk before making this official? The reporters erupted, shoving microphones between us. Ryan moved to block them, but Derek kept coming, his gaze locked on mine. You really want to do this? His tone was almost playful, like we were sharing a private joke. Throw away 5 years over some tabloid nonsense. My pulse roared in my ears. This was his last play, public humiliation, banking on me folding under pressure like I always had before. Naomi stepped forward. Mr. Carter, this is neither the time nor. I wasn't speaking to you. Derek didn't even glance at her. Lila! The sea of cameras waited, breathless. I straightened my shoulders and met his gaze. The only thing I'm throwing away is your last name. A beat of stunned silence. Then the reporters exploded with questions. Derek's mask slipped for just a second, a flash of real shock before the smirk returned. You'll regret this. No, I said quietly, so only he could hear. But you will. For the first time in our marriage, Derek had nothing to say. The actual divorce filing took less than 15 minutes. Naomi handed me the stamped paperwork with a satisfied smile. Congratulations. You're officially a free woman. The words didn't feel real until we stepped outside, and I saw Ryan leaning against his car, sunlight catching the silver in his hair. His smile when he spotted me sent warmth flooding through my chest. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Derek. Check your share drive. Ryan's smile faded as he saw my face. What now? I opened the link with trembling fingers. A video loaded, security footage from our old apartment. Derek and me, 6 months ago, arguing about kids. You're being selfish, my recorded voice said. I don't care about your IPO. I want a family. Derek's reply was chillingly calm. Then find someone else to knock you up. The clip ended there. The message was clear. Derek could twist even my most vulnerable moments into something ugly. Ryan snatched my phone and deleted the file. He's trying to get in your head. Don't let him. But the damage was done. That version of me, the pleading, desperate woman in the video, felt like a stranger. And yet, what if I become her again? The fear slipped out before I could stop it. Ryan cupped my face, his touch firm. Look at me. You walked into a courthouse today and stared down the man who spent years breaking you. That's who you are now. The certainty in his voice steadied me. Maybe healing wasn't a straight line. Maybe some days that old version of me would whisper doubts in my ear. But today wasn't one of those days. Today I got to choose who I wanted to be. I took Ryan's hand. Take me home. As we drove away, I didn't glance back at the courthouse, or the reporters, or the ghost of my old life fading in the rearview mirror. Some endings were really beginnings in disguise. The reunion. The invitation arrived on a Thursday. Thick ivory cardstock, embossed lettering, the 10-year reunion for Derek and Ryan's alma mater. Ryan tossed it on the kitchen counter with a scoff. Like hell I'm going. I picked it up, running my thumb over the raised font. We should. Ryan froze, halfway through pouring coffee. You're joking. I met his gaze. I need to face him one last time. The truth was, 3 months of freedom hadn't erased the lingering fear that Derek could still hurt me. I needed to prove, to myself more than anyone, that his power over me was gone. Ryan studied my face, then set down the carafe. If we do this, we do it together. No holding back. I kissed him, tasting coffee and resolve. Together. The reunion was held at some pretentious golf club Derek's company sponsored. Valet parking, champagne towers, the whole performative display of wealth I used to think mattered. Ryan's hand found mine as we walked in. Remember, we leave when you want. I squeezed his fingers in thanks. The ballroom was already buzzing, clusters of alumni laughing too loud over expensive liquor. It took less than 30 seconds to spot Derek holding court near the bar, his arms slung around a visibly uncomfortable Vanessa. Sophia's text from last week flashed through my mind. He's only with her now to save face. Derek's gaze snapped to us like he'd sensed our presence. His smile didn't falter, but his grip on Vanessa's waist tightened. Ryan leaned down. You good? I straightened my spine. Better than good. We crossed the room like that, hand in hand, eyes forward, while whispers trailed behind us. Derek intercepted us at the bar. Lila! His voice was all false warmth. Didn't expect to see you here. I smiled sweetly. I wanted to see how the mighty had fallen. Vanessa stiffened. Derek's jaw twitched. Ryan ordered 2 whiskeys, deliberately turning his back on Derek. How's the job search going? Heard Tech Today rescinded their offer. Derek's mask cracked. You always were a pathetic. I tapped my nails against the marble bar. Tempered Derek. Wouldn't want another scene going viral. The threat landed exactly as intended. Derek's nostrils flared, but he took a step back. Enjoy your night. As he stalked off, Vanessa lingered just long enough to mutter, he's unbearable now. Congratulations. Ryan burst out laughing. We stayed exactly 1 hour, long enough to make our point, not long enough to let the past poison the present. The valet brought Ryan's car around just as rain began to patter against the pavement. I paused under the awning, watching droplets slide down the windshield. Ryan brushed a kiss to my temple. Regrets. I thought of Derek's hollow eyes, Vanessa's quiet confession, the way no one at that party had truly looked happy. Not a single one. The rain fell harder as we drove away, washing everything clean. The encore. The spotlight was hotter than I expected. I stood frozen at center stage of the Troubadour, my fingers clutching Ryan's like a lifeline as the crowd's cheers washed over us. The smell of old wood and whiskey mixed with the electric hum of amplifiers. Ryan leaned in, his stubble brushing my cheek. Breathe, superstar. 6 months ago, I'd been a woman who flinched at raised voices. Now here I was, standing in front of 300 strangers with a microphone in my hand. Ryan strummed the opening chords of Landslide, the first song he'd ever taught me. The one we played, curled up on his couch that rainy afternoon when I was still too bruised to believe in new beginnings. My voice wavered on the first line. Then something miraculous happened. The crowd began singing along. Not for me. Not for Ryan. With us. By the final chorus, tears streamed down my face. Ryan's eyes never left mine, his guitar echoing the promise we'd made without words. I'm here. You're safe. This is just the start. The applause was thunderous. Ryan kissed me right there under the lights, his lips tasting like salt in triumph. Someone in the front row whooped. A camera flash went off. And for once, I didn't care who was watching. Backstage, Ryan pressed a cold beer into my hands. So, when's your solo album dropping? I shoved his shoulder, laughing. Never again. That was a one-time deal. He caught my wrist, pulling me onto his lap. Liar. You loved it. I had. The adrenaline still buzzed under my skin like live wires. But what I loved more was this, the quiet after the storm, Ryan's heartbeat steady against mine, the future stretching before us like an unwritten song. My phone buzzed with a text from Sophia. Derek just saw the videos. You've officially broken him. Attached was a screenshot of Derek's Instagram, already deleted, but not before someone captured his bitter comment. Some people will do anything for attention. Ryan plucked the phone from my fingers and tossed it onto the couch. Let him rot. And just like that, the last shadow lifted. We walked home through Silver Lake, the neon signs reflecting in rain puddles, Ryan's guitar case bumping against his back. You know, he said, swinging our joined hands, I've got a surprise for you. Another one. You've already given me a record deal, a sold-out show. Better. He stopped beneath a street lamp, pulling an envelope from his jacket. Inside were 2 plane tickets to Italy. Departure date, 1 week from today. My nana left me her villa in Tuscany. Ryan's thumb brushed over my knuckles. Thought we could disappear for a while. Drink terrible wine. Make terrible music. My breath caught. What about your studio sessions? They'll wait. He kissed me, slow and deep, until the world narrowed to just the sidewalk, just his hands in my hair, just the promise humming between us. You're my priority now, Lila Carter. The name didn't sting anymore. It was just a word, a footnote in the story we were writing together. I pressed my forehead to his. Take me home, Mitchell. And he did. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more real-life tales of resilience and reinvention. Have you ever had a turning point that changed everything? Share your experiences in the comments below. We're all writing our comeback stories together.